everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to share 5 family meals that we have eaten recently, and it's also a collaboration with my friend Kerry Walkdale, so if you want to see more then keep watching. So before I get into the video really quickly, I have to tell you about Kerry because she is a lovely lady indeed. I've known Kerry for quite a while now and I'm a big fan of her videos. We're both foodies and I feel like we've got quite a lot in common in that respect, and it is a really good idea I think for us to collaborate and club together. So essentially once you've seen 5 recipes here, you can go on to her channel and see 5 recipes there. We both are really passionate about cooking. We've both got kids, obviously. She has 2 boys and we're just sharing what we eat. So the first one I'm going to share is actually a shepherd's pie, or at least how I make it, along with cauliflower cheese. This is a staple. I often bulk cook it so we can eat it several times throughout a couple of weeks because I'll freeze one of them and it just goes down really well with my family. So here is recipe number 1, or recipe 1 and 2 because it's kind of like a double whammy, this one. So before you do anything, you want to get your chopped and peeled potatoes in a pan, top with water and get them on the boil. So now I'm going to get on with the filling of the shepherd's pie, and I'm using my favourite pan. This is actually from Pro Cook. I get asked about this a lot. I bought it in the sale. I think it was either last year or the year before, just before Christmas, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to start with my lamb mince. I've got 500 grams here. If you don't like lamb, obviously you could turn this into a cottage pie instead and use beef mince, but if you're vegetarian, you could use a mince substitute like corn, for example, or even lentils and loads of different veggies. It's entirely up to you. Like lentils is a really good way of bulking this out if you're on a budget and things like that, because they're very affordable. I'm going to put this into a dry pan first because obviously lamb mince is very fatty and I just want to see what kind of fat content comes off first before I add any additional fat like olive oil to cook the veggies in. But let's get this on and then we will see what happens. So as you can see, there's a lot of fat and liquid that's come off the lamb here, and while I'm going to keep some of that for flavour and obviously to cook the veggies in as well, I am just going to take some kitchen roll and blot it. Steam, because we don't want all of that in our bodies either. So now that's done, I'm going to add my carrot and onion. So all you want to do with the veggies are just soften them really, so let them cook down nicely. I'm going to reduce the heat slightly so it's more low to medium. So now the vegetables have softened, I have now added 2 of these lamb stock cubes. The Knorr ones are really good if you've never tried them before, and about a tablespoon of dried mint. You could use rosemary instead if you prefer that, but the flavours work really well. Obviously if you're using beef then dried thyme would be fantastic, but now I've added those, I'm going to stir to combine and then I will add my tomatoes. Some people prefer just to do this as a gravy mix, but I like the idea of adding extra veg in there anyway, and I really like the flavour that the tomatoes bring to the dish, so that's what I'm going to do next. So what I'm going to do now is add the tomatoes. I have half a carton of passata left over from the kids' dinner last night, so I'm going to add that because it's open and it'd be a waste otherwise. And then what I would normally do is just put a whole tin of chopped tomatoes in, which I'm going to do as well, but I just didn't want to waste this. So you only need to include the one if you're making this at home. So I've just been cooking this down and I've realised I've got quite a lot of mix, but almost not enough if I want to bulk cook. So what I'm going to do, just because it's a nice way to show you and also it makes it stretch a lot further as well, I'm going to add some red lentils, and then I still have these out ready to wash anyway and put in recycling. So I've rinsed out the tin of chopped tomatoes so you get some more tomato flavour from there anyway. I'm going to put maybe like a decent handful of red lentils in, add the water and let them cook and thicken. You've got some extra protein in there, you won't taste them anyway, it's good for your kids and all that, and it's an extra way of bulking this up further before you add your peas. And then what I'm going to do with this is split it into 2 pies and put one of them in the freezer, and then next time we fancy something on a Sunday and I can't be bothered to cook, then we'll just have this. So I've popped the lid on now and I'm just going to leave that to cook for a bit so all the flavours come together really nicely and it like thickens a little bit. And then once my potatoes are done, I will drain them and mash them and I will finish this off. So in my potatoes I've added a big knob of butter, I'm going to add a splash of milk, and then I'm going to mash and taste and season, and then just leave them until my mixture is all ready. So this is the lamb mince mixture cooked, and I've tasted it, and I've just added a little tiny bit of sugar to bring out the sweetness of the tomatoes, which you might need sometimes. I do this a lot when I add like tinned tomatoes to food, and then a good twist of black pepper. So I'm going to mix that through, taste it again, and then if that's all good, I'm just going to leave it to cool slightly before adding the peas and dividing into my cooking dishes, just so the peas don't cook too quickly, and also so there's a nice solid layer for the mashed potato to go on top of, because if you do it when it's too warm they kind of merge a little bit, which isn't really what you want. So I'm just going to give that about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I will dish them up. So I've added a good few handfuls of peas. I'm going to give this a mix and then divide it between my 2 dishes and top with mashed potato. So that's everything divided. So I've got the 2 big ones here, and then also a little mini one because I had some left over. So I'm going to top that with mash and freeze that one as well. But yeah, they all need topping with mash actually, so I'm going to do that next. So these are the finished shepherd's pies. If you want to pimp them out, you can add some breadcrumbs and grated cheese like I've done, but that's entirely up to you. You don't have to do that at all. I'm going to cover the ones for the freezer in some tin foil doubled over just to stop any freezer burn, and I will pop those in the freezer when they are fully cool. And then this one for now, I'm just going to put one of my wax wraps on again. These are from Amazon, by the way, if you were wondering, and I really do recommend them. You can wash them and reuse them and all sorts. They're great. And yeah, I'm going to leave that now out on the side until I am ready to cook it later on. So for the cauliflower cheese, you obviously want to cook your veggies first so they're not too hard when you pop this in the oven, and then in a pan you want to add 40 grams of flour and 40 grams of butter and mix to combine. So what we're doing here is making a roux. So you're going to add 400 ml of milk very slowly to create a smooth sauce, and then gradually add in 100 grams of cheddar cheese. You could use a mix if you wanted to. I also like to add a teaspoon of English mustard and the seasoning because this brings out the flavour of the cheese. And then you're going to pop everything in a oven-proof dish, top with extra cheese if you like, and the cooking instructions will be left in the description box below. So once your shepherd's pie and your cauliflower cheese is cooked, then it's just time to dish it out, and that is what we had. So the next recipe is a really quick and easy one. It's kind of one of my like we're in a rush, I don't know what to do, the kids need something quick and easy kind of recipe, and it's just fresh tortellini but making a really quick and simple sauce that isn't like a ready-made sauce, because sometimes it can be quite full of sugar and not always that nice. So this is a really quick and easy one to do. I quite like it as well, to be honest, and the kids really enjoy it. So for this next one, you just want to add your tortellini and a big handful of peas into a saucepan with some boiling water and cook as according to the instructions. And then we're going to make a sauce. So in here I have half a jar of sun-dried tomato pesto, half a packet of cream cheese and a big knob of butter. And you're just going to warm that through over the heat just to create a nice smooth sauce with no additives or nasties. When your pasta is cooked, you just mix the sauce through, and that is it. It's really quick and easy, but the kids really like it. You can serve with veggies on the side and extra cheese if you want to as well. So the next recipe might be one of those like dividers where you might love it or hate it, but it is a sprout, chestnut and bacon risotto. Now if you like sprouts or any of those 3 things, like that combination itself is amazing, but if you like sprouts you will love this. So in a large pan you want to add a glug of olive oil and a knob of butter, and then a finely diced onion, red or white is fine, and you want to cook that until it's nice and softened. Once that's happened, you're going to go in with some bacon lardons, and while that's cooking you're going to chop up a packet of chestnuts and add those to the pan as well, along with a heaped teaspoon of garlic. Then I'm going to add a cup of risotto rice, and I'm going to let that cook through a little bit before adding a glass of wine. This is optional, but it really does bring out the flavour. Once the wine has started to cook off, you're going to start to slowly add some stock of choice, so chicken or vegetable is fine. Halfway through that process you're going to add your shredded sprouts, and then you are going to continue adding the stock until everything has been absorbed by the rice and your rice is nicely cut through. Then I add a large handful of parmesan, stir through and serve with extra parmesan on top. The next one is actually a vegetarian one, so it's a sweet potato and spinach curry. You could actually make this vegan as well if you omit the butter at the start just for oil instead, but it goes down really well with my kids, and I use chili flakes at the end of the curry to add heat to mine and Mark's portion, so the kids can still have a little bit of a kick, but it's not too spicy for them. So to start with this curry, you're going to make your paste. So you're going to chop an onion and add that to your blender along with a chili with the seeds removed. This is optional, but obviously it adds some heat. And then the stalks of a bunch of coriander along with a heaped tablespoon of grated ginger and a heaped tablespoon of crushed garlic. Then you're just going to blend that together until it's nice and smooth. So it'll probably look something like this. Then in a pan, you're going to add a big knob of butter and then add a teaspoon each of garam masala, turmeric powder, ground coriander and cumin seeds. So a big heaped teaspoon of each. So once they're in the pan, you're just going to cook those off so a bit of the flavours release, and then you're also going to add your paste and cook that off for a few minutes as well. Then you're going to add 2 chopped sweet potatoes. I've done them in like bite-sized chunks here, and you're just going to cook those off before adding a tin of chopped tomatoes, mixing that through again, and then also a tin of coconut milk. Then you're just going to let this simmer slowly until the sweet potato is cooked through and it's thickened a little bit, so it should look something like this. Now at this point you could add some crushed chili. I tend to do this after I've served up the kids, so I'll do that in a little bit, but first I'm gonna add some spinach to up the veggie content, so some good big handfuls, and then once that's wilted we just serve it over rice with some extra coriander and also some naan bread on the side, and it's a really nice one to have with kids. And then the final recipe is actually a paella, or a take on it anyway, using pork mince. This went down well with all of us and it's really tasty and very quick and easy to do as well. So in a large pan on a medium heat, you want to add a glug of olive oil followed by your pork mince, your onion and your peppers, along with a heaped teaspoon of crushed garlic. And you just want to brown that and soften the veg. Once that's done, you're going to add your paella rice, so around 300 grams of this, and then you're going to stir that through the mince and the vegetables until everything is all combined and it just cooks through a little bit. Then we're going to go in with about 3/4 of a jar of this paella seasoning. You can make your own if you want to, and then you're just going to stir that through again. And then all you do, a bit like a risotto, you add a little bit of your stock a bit at a time, just so the rice can absorb it and soak it through. This should take about 20 minutes or so. Once your rice is cooked, you're then going to go in with your frozen peas and your cherry tomatoes and stir those through just so they warm through and the peas defrost. I like to then give it a taste and season it with anything that's needed, so in this case it was black pepper. And then this is how we served it up. So we've all got some in bowls, and then we served it with a few sides as well. So we've got some flatbreads here, coriander, feta that was left over from the fridge, so I thought I'd use it up, some lemon wedges, some aioli, and then also some hot sauce for us adults if we want to add a little bit of heat. And it was really good. So that is the end of this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. As I mentioned before, make sure you head on over to Kerry's channel after this one. You will love her, I promise. She's an amazing lady. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day, whatever you're up to, and I will see you very soon, hopefully. Bye!